Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Uncharted 2 Brutal Difficulty video walkthrough. This is the remastered version of the game from the Nathan Drake collection, and this is the 22nd level, entitled Monastery. This is by far the longest level on the game. It is a level that is essentially a continuous sequence of gunfights. Some of them are very long, some of them are pretty challenging, some of them are kind of dumb, others are pretty simple. It's all over the place, difficulty-wise. This very first section is probably my favourite part of the level because you can stealth kill everybody without having to shoot. And if I had to labour one direct criticism at any given level of the game, it would be this one. Because for the most, you cannot stealth any of the other areas. You can kill a few people with neck breaks and things, but for the most, it will always kick off at some point. And when it does kick off, there are always way too many enemies. It kinda gets tedious, and I think it's the only misstep in this entire game, because I think everything else has about the right amount of time. But I would cut this level in like 1/3. I would probably have the opening gunfight sequence, and then the sequence at the end of this level, and I would trim all the middle stuff away, because I just don't think it flows well enough. That being said, is it fun? You know, can you enjoy it? Definitely. I think if you're playing this just from a combat perspective, this might even be your favourite level, because it literally is just this adrenaline dose of nothing but fighting. And I've already said and stated a few times throughout this that as much as I think that these are great games, and I think they did a lot for the cinematic, you know, adventure and storytelling and characterization in a game, I also think that they're just not up to the standard of third-person shooting action games that I was used to playing. And it wouldn't take much to tweak them, but this is the kind of level that really shows just how far behind they were when they came out, and just how rough they were. And I know there's a lot of people that get really defensive when you say this kind of stuff about a game that they love. And it's not me saying that it's bad, it's just Naughty Dog's inexperience showing. Like, that's pretty much the entirety of Uncharted 1. There is a measure of roughness that just isn't present in, say, Uncharted 3. Because they didn't really know how to do this type of thing. Their previous games, you know, they weren't by any stretch of the imagination the most modern iteration of any kind of game. They were very arcadey, they had a lot of archaic principles at work. And I think a lot of those design philosophies make this a better game, but at the same time, they also make it feel a bit dated. Over here is a crossbow. I came over here because there is a strategy at the beginning that I utilised before this cut, where I killed a few people stealthily. I came over here, and then people came out of the gate, and I was able to kill them without them seeing me, and I killed maybe about 5 or 6 enemies here, and then I went in and I cleaned them up. But on this run, they didn't follow me. So the only reason I've left this particular section in is to show you where this crossbow is, just in case you need a powerful weapon to kill a heavy who's giving you trouble. I would have just trimmed it out, but it didn't work, folks. That being said, it can work, so if you want to try it as a nice little spot to pick off some dudes, feel free to do it. Just this time, nobody followed me. Everybody started shooting at, is it Elena? And she just doesn't do a good job of killing anything. And oh my goodness, the guy has a shotgun and he decides to start Chuck Norrising me. If he'd have not Chuck Norrised me, he wouldn't have got Indiana Jonesed. You know what I mean? What a dumbass. That guy had me dead to rights. He could have shoved that shotgun up my ass. There was nothing I could do. But he decides to show me how manly he is, and I'm very grateful. But this is just, it's a long fight, guys. It's a really long fight. And then, once you're done, you have to cross the waterway pushing this truck. And then it triggers another massive checkpoint gauntlet of enemies. And then once you've done that, there's another gauntlet of enemies, but they can be superseded really quickly on the turret. But these first 2 fights, it's like 20 fucking minutes. And I'm never normally the guy who says this fight is too long or this excursion's too long. It's just not really my style. But you know when you notice that you've been fighting a long time, it becomes a thing. And I just don't think... And you might be wondering when I say, you know, the contemporaries of this game, the other games, third-person action games, they were up to a very high standard. Like, which ones are you meaning? Well, I was a massive Gears of War guy. And Gears of War is a game that has some flaws, but one of them is not the encounters. The encounters in Gears of War 1 are so masterfully put together, you can win them before they start. And you can do that for most of the game. Just by knowing the spawns, just by getting a certain weapon and carrying it longer than the game developers probably thought you would. Like, there are some moments on that game where you can use the Hammer of Dawn before you've even opened doors to kill enemies. To kill large enemies. Like, there are so many sequences where if you know where to put a grenade, the fight will never start. It's wonderful. And then even when the fight has started, and it's, you know, a small excursion or a big group of dudes, it never outstays its welcome. It never feels like you've been there too long. It always feels like it was the perfect length for exactly what it was. And then there's a short calm, and then there's another fight. And it's just this moving between these short skirmishes that feel great. It's not, here's 50 minutes of in-your-face bukkake action, and then later on we'll do some heavy petting. It's not like that. And I think that's why it feels better. And then they improved on a lot of those things in the later ones and diversified it and things. But there are a lot of third-person shooters that have got just that perfect length of combat. Another one that I go back to a lot is Max Payne. Max Payne 1 and 2, those games, like, you never felt like the combat lasted too long because it was so fun. And I appreciate a lot of this is probably very subjective, because I know people who played Max Payne 3. I say people, he's called DSP, he's a very strange individual. He thought Max Payne 3 was repetitive and boring. It is a third-person shooter where you shoot things. It's all you do. That's what that genre is. Like, this is the same person who complained that you had to skate in Tony Hawk. Like, but everybody's different, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, you know, you might completely disagree with what I've been saying, and that's perfectly fine, but I just think, pacing-wise, that this mission is a mess. This particular section right now is only dangerous because the turret. I don't know if the turret abides by brutal rules or just crushing rules, because I don't think I've ever been shot by it. And normally when I say something like that on a walkthrough, it happens a few seconds later to prove me wrong. Also, this turret will turn. He's a cheeky one, and it never runs out of ammo for them. They get like that little intermission where they do the reload, but he can fire indefinitely for as long as he chooses. So if you come up to this and you push it, you're going to get a checkpoint the moment it stops, and then an actually challenging fight starts. So we're 7 minutes in, so that first fight will give or take about 5-minute combat. This one, way harder. This is actually really tough, this part. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I really dislike long periods of gameplay that I have to repeat when I die. And that is just 100% an issue I have with things. I'm not someone who likes to replay large chunks of things. I could never be a speedrunner. Playing a game for 4 hours and having any one mistake is a reset, that's too much for me. Like, I can play a game for 20 hours straight and pass art, and that's not a problem. I'll enjoy every minute of it. I won't think that that's wasted time. I won't think I could have spent it doing better things, even though I probably could have spent it doing better things. But I just won't, because I love video games and I love playing games. I am a gamer at heart. I always will be. I'm hoping I'm going to be the old guy who's got like the fucking, you know, the PlayStation 8, which is the equivalent of like the Commodore 64 to today's gaming, and I'm the dude playing that and being like, games used to be good, you're all playing this Mine League of Legends thing, like Mine Legends, or whatever the hybrid most popular game will be at that point. But I probably won't be. I'll probably be some like fucking grumpy old guy that likes fishing and talking about the weather like everybody else. But I could never be those people. It's too much for me. It's too much for the way my brain works. But I think it stems from running, I think. I was never a good distance runner. Never have been, never will be. But sprinting, 100 meters, I can give you a run for your money. I used to love that shit. But 1,500 meters, I would say I had leprosy to get out of doing that. Cross country, good God. I've got one of those compound fractures you can't see. Yeah, I just want to sit this one out. I need a shock mount so much. I just ended up punching my keyboard and it literally sounded like I took a shit in the mic. It was horrible. Like some kind of horny ventriloquist coughing. Really strange. So at this point, you're probably wondering why I'm not pushing up. Well, I'm not pushing up because I spent 15 minutes on three separate occasions pushing up and getting instantly killed by a really dodgy spawn. So at this point, I'm trying my best to make sure everybody's dead, so when the spawn happens, nobody sneaks up on me. And this is entirely optional, guys. But I stress this. Be careful. It sounds really silly, doesn't it? But it's so true. It's the silly things that hurt the most. It really is. And Getting to this point where you've been fighting, you know, for a solid 5 minutes or however long it's been, 4 minutes, and then getting shot and having to do it again, it's the worst feeling in the world. But in moments such as this, when you can actually see the people on the turret spawning after you kill them and they run and take the place of the guy you just killed, I think this is when the game really feels at its most mechanically bad. Because I don't want to see an endless horde of lemmings going towards a turret, and that's exactly what you see. I think it's really disheartening. This guy here, once I kill him, I think he might be the last dude, but every time I think he's the last dude, I get killed. So be very careful, because there's always a dude taking his place. See what I mean? It's like I didn't shoot him. There's just another dude stood there in the exact same spot, just be like, yeah, what, and then you look away, and then you look back, and there's another fucking dude there. It's literally like Groundhog Day, and they just come out of nowhere. There's some weird special closet where they all fall out of. It's horrible. Like fucking Matryoshka dolls, only with headshots rather than, you know, swivelly bellies. But you never feel comfortable pushing forward if they can just run out of nowhere, out of this magic Russian closet, and then screw you over. So that's why I'm being incredibly passive right now. Because this firefight's too damn long. There's too many enemies, and it doesn't feel like they're coming from anywhere that they should be coming from. There's just this guy there who's got 1,000,000 lives. It's fucking Connor McLeod, the Clan McLeod. And he eats bullets for breakfast like Arnie eats Green Berets. And I think that might be it. But look! It never is! Never is! This is the worst thing ever. You know? There's people starving in Africa, but it's not as bad as this. They get on the telly. This isn't on the telly. But I think it might be done. So there! It's over! And all I have to do now is push up. Oh. I'm gonna just stop talking. You see what I mean though, folks? This is where I think the game really falls down, because it shouldn't be like this. Do you remember the old Call of Duties where if you didn't move, enemies just came forever? I think this is that. I really do. But I think this does actually end. And the problem is, if you push up, you're going to trigger a spawn, which will probably stop this endlessly seeming army of dudes. But, yeah, I think I should just move. I'm so scared of that spawn, though, because 2 times in a row they killed me. And I want it to stop. I want this to just, like, no more enemies left. You've gone through the respawns. And then, boom, I can move forward comfortably, knowing that there's not going to be any sneaky dude just running out and jumping on the turret. Come on, Chris, just jump down. See what I mean? It's bullshit. It's so stupid. And you're going to see me throw an explosive thing over there, because I know this is where the spawn came from last time. And guess what? It doesn't come from this direction this time. So the spawn's completely different. This level's just, it's a troll. It's a massive troll. And we've been fighting now for 8 minutes. And if I die, I'm probably back at that point. So it's really disheartening. There is a pile of bodies. This is literally like that moment in that Resident Evil film where you see tons of Mila Jovovich lady. Because look, he's just stood in a pile of his friends. It's like that dude from Dusk Till Dawn. He's telling you about his knife, then he gets bit by a sex machine. Even though if you watch that film, just geographically, sex machine stood over here, black dude stood like over there. There is no way he could have snuck behind him without the people watching the story seeing him. It makes no sense, Rodriguez. How did you not spot this? Love that film. Ooh, that worked. And do you see how there was a shotgun guy down there? That could be the spawn. I have no idea. Yeah, it's done. We've done it. That means we've just got a checkpoint. And we have to get on the turret now. And what happened here, folks, is when I get on the turret, I get instantly murdered. So you're going to see like a transition coming up. And then you're going to see me on the turret kicking ass. And lo and behold, he's still alive. Bill Murray just died, dude. And my advice here is try and make sure that the lasers are definitely pointing at your armor, because if they're not, you're going to take pretty big damage. And I should be dead at this moment, but I'm not. So just stick with it, persevere, and try to spread death as wide as you can. And get revenge on these assholes for making you put up with that 8 minutes of turret lemming bullshit. But I am curious if you can rush this turret really quickly and get to this checkpoint, because it's probably a good strategy. The problem is, you die so damn fast. If you make one mistake or you don't know somebody's close to you when they are, you're dead. And it's a big shame. But I just trimmed out me running around the level and picking up a load of ammo. You don't need to see that. This video's long enough. And then we have to open this doorway. Because apparently in Tibet you need 2 people to open most doorways, which is a principle of Army of Two's level design. That's why I'm never going to go to Shanghai. I'd need a buddy. It's really expensive taking a second person with you anywhere. Goddamn all-inclusive robbers. But we get a little bit of platforming here and some puzzle solving, which is a nice welcome break from, you know, just the gun fest that was those previous moments. I do like that as well. It's playing on our expectations, and I think it's really cool. This entire game we've been climbing questionably coloured blocks, and they just strip them away and make you fall a little bit. You're not in control, but you don't need to be, because it's just diversifying it in an interesting designed way. It's really... Ooh, that was close. That's me trying to walk across this faster, because I think the walking animation's way too slow. But more climbing, and I need to jump across there. So jump across here, and then you're going to need to push this. There's going to be some transitions, like that just then, where you press triangle, and it puts you into this weird vignette of catching people. This is the type of stuff that I would normally trim out, but it looked really jarring when I did it, and I was going to dip it and fade it, but it looked like 2 different sections coming together when it's really just one section. It's one of the problems with editing. Sometimes you can over-edit, and I don't want to do that, because editing is at its finest when you don't notice it. And there are moments in this guide where you're definitely noticing it, because there's so much stuff being removed. And I think that's a shame. Like, it would be nice if on a second playthrough of, say, Uncharted 4, there was an option where those sequences just kinda didn't happen. You know, it could skip them like cutscenes, but because they're in engine, I get the feeling that they're buffering a loading screen. So, unfortunately, games have to load, and these consoles aren't all, you know, crazy SSDs up the arse unless you mod your PS4, and then even then I don't think it affects the load times enough to warrant really doing it or the price of an SSD, which I think that's a big shame. One of the best parts of the PS4, except for almost all of it, because it's considerably better than the Xbox One, unfortunately, it just doesn't have any games for some people. I'm really lucky in that department because, of course, there's this, and then I have Bloodborne, and I love Bloodborne, and I'll be playing Bloodborne for a very long time, so to me, it's a great investment, but to some people, there's just not a single game worth playing, and I find that really sad. Except for this, which is essentially an old game, so I can understand that frustration. And a lot of people often question in my videos why I choose to play things on Xbox, even though I think the Xbox One is a bag of shit. Well, it's simply because all my friends have Xboxes. They're not really Sony guys, so that's where my community is. And I love the 360 controller. I like the Xbox One less, controller-wise, but I still think it's a really fun controller. And then it has my my subscription to Xbox Live, which I'm committed to. And even though I think PSN has done marvellous leaps and bounds to become a better service, I still don't think the infrastructure for the internet is as good as Xbox Live because they don't have the experience that Microsoft do. And I lag enough without having a system that is already laggy, you know. So it's one of those things where I've never really had that investment. And it's not really... I'm not saying this to start any kind of, you know, oh, this console's better than that, because I don't really believe in that stuff. I think it's just silly. I think you should be a gamer, not a... You know, not have this kind of crazy patriotism towards a system, because at the end of the day, you can have the best system in the world, but if there's nothing worth playing on it, it's just a fucking paperweight for a shelf and dust. And that's the problem, as I mentioned, with the PlayStation 4 for a lot of people. Like, my friends don't even think it's worth buying, and I've tried my best to be like, you know, it's a really, really cool console, but sometimes that's not enough, you know, when all they want to play is like Halo or something. So this checkpoint's actually really tough. And it's tough for a few reasons. You cannot stealth this entire thing. I just don't think it can be done. Because when you get to the floor below this, there's always one dude that sees you. I just don't know why. It's like it's programmed to fuck you. And I got so close on one attempt and I got instantly murdered, so I thought, fuck it. And the strategy I'm going to show you is a little bit awkward because you're going to be shooting through floorboards. But the toughest part is you don't know where people are. And they kill you in 2 bullets, so you can't make a mistake. So moving down through this tower is a nerve-wrenching experience, because at any moment you can get instantly killed. And this is another sequence that would probably be 3 minutes long on Crushing, but because this is brutal, it's 15 minutes long, because you're so tentative to push forward. And I do think that that's a big shame. But I will say one thing about the PlayStation 4's controller. I really, really like it. I don't like the triggers. I don't know why Sony can't go back to the PlayStation 2's triggers. They were perfect. They were buttons, dude. They had no resistance to them. They were just buttons, and they worked perfectly. But for some reason, we want these like spongy bullshit triggers now. And as much as it's an improvement over the PlayStation 4's, you know when I put my Xbox pad down, I never press a trigger. I never accidentally shoot somebody or kill an NPC in fucking Dark Souls. I don't do that. Every time I put the pad down on this machine, something happens. And it shouldn't work like that. Like, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I love everything else. Like, I think the analogs feel great. I think just the feel of the pad, it's just really nicely proportioned. I think start and select are dodgy because they've moved them to weird buttons and there's that whole touchy thing in the middle, but, you know, it still works. But I cannot get behind those fucking triggers. And you might be wondering, I immediately shifted aim and shoot to L1 and R1 because I hate those buttons. And I just think it's way more responsive and it's just a better experience. But I don't understand why they're loyal to this design. I don't know if they've copyrighted it, if it's a Sony design or what, but they need to realise that triggers, making them bigger and taking longer to press is not a good thing, because all that does is add delay. And when you have delay between when you press something and when you see it on the screen, it's not cool, it's not fun at all. Like, the best trigger ever invented was the N64, because it was instant. It just click, you were done. And it was one of the first triggers I ever used on a controller. Like, it set the standard, and yet we're getting these ones now that are so fucking deep, you could email your entire family and tell them you're pressing the trigger before you've got the shot off. And I really don't like it. The Wii U controller has wonderful triggers. They feel beautiful. I don't know what it is, dude. Nintendo, you can insult them all you like. That is a company that knows how to make something fit in your hand and feel good. Aside from the Z button on the GameCube controller, which I think is the dumbest thing they ever did. Nobody has fingers to make that work, right? Like, way too cramped. But aside from that, I just love their controllers, you know. They implemented the analog before anybody was doing it. They implemented triggers before anyone was doing it. You know, we owe so much to Nintendo. We owe this epidemic of motion control bullshit that everything's plagued with now. And I read this wonderful, wonderful article about the Kinect on IGN, I think it was, like, 90% of all Xbox One users are using Kinect. You know, trying to make out that it's valid and useful, and, you know, they're actually coming through with the promise that they're going to integrate it into things, yet name how many Kinect games that weren't completely novelty bullshit and nobody played them. Like, how many Kinect games do you see now? None. Because it's a piece of shit. And even though it works amazingly compared to the other one, it still doesn't have an audience. It doesn't have a market of people. The people using it are the people saying, like, fucking Xbox Sky Sports or Xbox Bing, or nobody says Bing. No one uses Bing. No one's heard of Bing. Stop backing Bing just because you don't like Google. Everyone's like, you know, Xbox Pornhub or something. They're not going, oh, I'm going to play fucking Zoo Connectables, or whatever it's called. Pet the Tiger. Pet the Child. Like, I haven't played that shit, and I never will. But they don't have this market, and I love it when they make sweeping statements like, we're actually getting a lot of people telling us that they really like the Kinect. Like, yeah, it's great. Absolutely wonderful when it turns your Xbox off by accident or it opens something you didn't ask for. Like, yeah. Do you know my Kinect? Didn't even get one. That's how much I use my Kinect. I was on the shop looking at the Xbox Ones, and then I saw the one that didn't have it, so I picked that one. Like, that is my Xbox experience. So stop trying to peddle this bullshit. In 10 years, it'll probably be the future and what everybody uses. But right now, there's no market. So it's hilarious when you see these defensive statements like, everyone's using their Kinect. People think it's a piece of shit, but it's actually not. That's why we're not making any games for it. But I always find it funny. And then you've got the Sony one, isn't there? The proprietary one for Sony, which is it the PlayStation Move? I don't fucking know. It's something that I'll never use and don't really want to. And then, of course, you've got the Wii stuff. And you know the most interesting thing is, the Wii started this whole waggle fetish, this whole shake-weight housewife bullshit, but the Wii U doesn't have any of it. Like, I haven't come across hardly any of it, because it's committed to that double screen feature, which, if you ask me, so much more endearing, so much more interesting, but it also is kind of dumb for the most, because it's not utilised well at all. But I just find it very strange that we get these kind of, you know, gimmicks. And there is a checkpoint, so as soon as you hit that explosion, you have a checkpoint. Now you have to kill the explosive guy, and there's a bunch of dudes going to be rushing you on this bridge in front. I get a massive Resident Evil 4 vibe here. when you're going between the walkways towards the end of the castle, just before you get to Salazar. And I'm using this piece of cover because it does allow you to do the clipping shooting, but I have been shot dead numerous times from behind it, so just be aware. And that glowing majesty in front of us is the sniper rifle. This is a weapon you're going to want to carry for as long as you can, because if this is not the most beautiful gun in the game, or one of them, anything that kills in one shot, I want to fillet it, because it's worth it, dude. It's worth the effort. See that? That is why I love the shorty. Even though it didn't kill him, because the enemies on this game, very questionable in that HP. I would love to be able to play this in like a debug mode, where I could see the damage that my guns are doing as numbers, you know, like an RPG, or like not Bloodborne, sorry, like Borderlands. And I would love to see their health pools and see their life go down, just to see how big their life actually is. Because I think it would be really eye-opening to see, you know, when the critical modifiers are being applied, you know, when the shots are registering and things, and how they're registering, and if shooting them in different places does different things. Like, that's the kind of stuff that fascinates me. And I know it probably sounds quite dry and boring to some people, but I just love the mechanical level of games. And I love it when a game gives you the ability to get that information, which is why I love the training mode in fighting games. Like, fighting games are so detailed, dude. They're so complex, and they give you that complexity, so that if you want to, you can dabble with it and you can learn it all. You can become a student of the game. If you don't want to, you probably never even touch it, don't even know it exists. And I think that's great. And I just wish more games were that willing to be transparent, to give the player that kind of, you know, responsibility, really, because it is a responsibility. You're essentially lifting your skirt up and showing them underneath, which is a very vulnerable position to be in when you're a video game. But that is a great way of getting rid of heavies. You'll notice for some reason my shotgun wasn't even registering on him. I don't know why. There's no reason for him not to flinch from those shotgun shots. It was like they weren't even hitting him. So I don't know what that was. I dare say it might have been a glitch, but I just think it was one of those wonky moments. And then at this point, pick up whatever gun you like best, whatever you think you're going to be comfortable with, and you're going to get a checkpoint as you push forward. But it's not a very natural one, so there's going to be a pretty jarring fade coming up, or a jump, depending on how I manage to play with it. So you see there was a couple of dudes spawning then. He's going to blind fire his micro Uzi, and a shotgun is going to rush us, so I'm going to try and pepper this dude and put him down. But I'm shooting with the wrong gun. Why did I waste those shots? That was really bad from me. That dude got grenaded, which is always fun. And I'm going to push up to the side of the cover, I think. Music's terrific at this point as well. Really good music on this level. It's one of the saving graces. So I swap out the snipper for the M4. That was incredibly dangerous. I don't know why I did that. I think I might have been trying to pick something up. And there was the fade. So Elena's rushed forward. I'm going to get away. Do you see that? That was a long distance shotgun blast. Barely hurt me at all. So that just goes to show there are damage modifiers on this difficulty, even though it feels like you get two-shot by everything. You don't. The crossbows from the blue dudes will one-shot you. And the shotgun guy at a distance, if you only get grazed by a few pellets, won't do too much either. So he gets distracted, and it enables us to knock his helmet off, which I should be trying to just shoot him in the face at this point. Just pop up, just give him one between the eyes. Oh, don't. But at this point, it's best to be patient. You know, if you pop up and try and shoot him, he might just instantly murk you with that shotgun. It does happen. It's like Mac in Predator. I wonder what these 3 red lights are. It looks a little bit like a VCR. I'm going to stick my head up to where it's coming from. What a great idea, Mac. Come on, you've been hunted by an alien. A dude from space. And if he's not from space, he's got some weird-ass crazy tech, because he can go invisible. And he's awesome. And he probably stinks to high heaven, but nobody mentions the smell. Yet, he just sticks his head out when there's a bunch of lasers dangling. Like, what did you think you were going to fucking find? John Travolta at a disco? I hate that part so much. It really frustrates me, because I liked Mac, and I thought he was going to do good. You know, you think about it? Mac does less in that moment of effective damage towards the Predator than Dylan. And Dylan is the slippery, lying, douchey guy you want to hate the entire film, who kind of redeems himself at the end. And Mac is like the quiet killer who doesn't give a shit, who's great. And he shaves with no shaving cream in the middle of the jungle. and he's less effective than the douchey tie-wearing, you know, it drives me wild. But this is Uncharted, unfortunately. If this was the Predator game and it was of this quality, I would be so happy. Just imagine being part of Dutch's squad and hunting the Predator through the jungle. Like, it could be so good, but we'll never get that game because they just can't use that license to make anything good. I don't know. Like Evolve, if you think of the way that Evolve is paced and how it works, I think that would have made a really, really good, you know, Predator versus X kind of game. Because you're a crack team of soldiers or whatever, and you're hunting something incredibly capable and terrifying. Is that not the perfect situation for a Predator? I think so. Even though I didn't play Evolved and I heard that it got boring really quickly, but that's a shame. So you might be wondering what I'm doing there. I think I missed a jump up and then somebody spawned above me, so I came back over here and then tried to shoot them from this distance because it's a little bit safer. So I'm shooting him through the boards, and the good thing about the board shooting is not only is it incredibly cheesy, but they don't shoot back. I don't know why, and I'm very happy. It's one of those moments where the second I realised I could do it, I'm like, I wish there was more floorboards. I wish the carpenters that designed this level were worse, but it turns out they weren't. So a couple of snippers just waiting for us to give us a nice clean shot to the face. I'm going to go up here because this leads to an area where we can get some sniper rifles. And I've already mentioned my love affair with the sniper. It is quite the conscientious lover. I do enjoy our coitus. And there's going to be another transition, because there's a person with a rocket launcher, and if you don't kill him, and he fires twice, he will kill you. And he killed me. I like to feel like I was learning via example, so that I could warn you. Nothing to do with the fact that, you know, I sat there like a coward, hoping that I could get an opportunity to do something, and I died before I realised I couldn't. It was entirely scientific purposes. So, what you're going to see coming up here is there's going to be a transition, and I'm going to shoot the rocket launcher guy. And it's not 2 rockets, it's 3. So you notice how he fired just then? So, 3 guys with snipers, 1 guy with a rocket. It might be 4 rockets, actually. Suffice to say, yeah, I think it's the 4th one. The next rocket that came killed me. So, this is where the checkpoint is anyhow. So go into your scope and don't miss, like I just did. Kill him. Then, systematically shoot the snipers. If you pop out of cover and hit them, they cannot shoot you. Considering this is the hardest difficulty, I have never seen snipers take this long to shoot. It's kind of hilarious. And I always bring it back to the same reference. Try playing Halo 2 on Legendary. Just do it. Because I'm gonna guess you didn't see the sniper, but he saw you. And guess what happened? Exactly. So, at this point you're going to get rushed by a bunch of guys on the bridge. If you've got decent aim, you can clean them up before they get a chance to shoot. This is a 1-bullet kill, and it's sexy, and I just adore it. It's a really fun gun to use. And look how easy this looks. It's like a goddamn shooting gallery. It just... beautiful. So beautiful, and I missed, damn it. I'm casual. But look at that! That is like the perfect section. They gave us a really cool tool that enabled us to do it really quickly if we were good enough at aiming with a sniper. And I was, you know, semi-decent at putting my shots down, and we won. Perfect moment. Like, I wish it was like this section after the stealth section at the beginning, and there wasn't that massive gunfight there. They could just remove that entire thing. We could have snuck into a tower, and then it was that bit where we were going down, shooting through the floorboards to get to this. And I think the pacing would have been much better. Right, or conversely, like none of this happened. It just went from that big firefight to the section that's after this one where you walk into that weird, like, circular amphitheatre thing, where you have that massive endurance fight, which is so much easier on crushing because you don't have to shit your pants when you go out of cover to pick up ammo. And I was googling, I say googling, I wasn't googling, I was YouTubing Uncharted Brutal to see, you know, what people have been doing with walkthroughs and things. I saw a couple of walkthroughs for the first game on Brutal. There was a guy who was finding the collectibles while he was doing it, so that's probably going to be a really popular one. So Godspeed to that guy. No commentary though, lazy bastard. Anyone can do what you're doing, dude. Put some fucking commentary on it, please. But it's kind of funny now. It's almost become a stigma. Like, people seem to think that just because when you put commentary on your video, you do it because you're this egotistical person who thinks people care what you have to say. Like, that's not the case at all. I mean, there's definitely that happening in places, but there's a lot of channels that are putting it on there genuinely trying to help you. They might go off on a tangent like I do, because I get distracted. I'm an idiot like that. But I'm not sitting here thinking, I can't wait to like have people listen to me. That's just not what this is. And by the way, doing that to get that spawn to happen, way harder than I made it look. I died so many times trying to trip that spawn and get back in cover. And then this sequence here is only difficult because when you run out of ammo, picking up a weapon is close to suicide. You might as well just be in the fucking bath up to your neck with the razor blade on the side, because it's crazy hard. But if you can get it without being shot, you'll be fine. And I've got a really good strategy, so hopefully this video will help. But I do not talk on these videos, guys, because I want you to worship me, because I want you to think I'm this godly gamer, or because I think I've got something worth hearing. I talk on it because that is the style that I started on YouTube. I wanted to give people strategies. I wanted to, you know, talk about certain things that I find interesting, certain things I don't find interesting, critique stuff, joke about stuff. I just wanted it to add an extra dimension to the video, because I think gameplay can be very sterile on its own. And if there's a personality coming with it, it doesn't have to be a crazy personality or, you know, constantly like one-liners or anything. It just has to be, you know, something that's not monotone and drab and like white noise after a while. But it was never from a perspective of, oh god, listen to me, I'm so good. Like, never whatsoever. Like, there are times when I wish I'd never put commentary on things because it's so easy. But I chose not to, and I've stuck to it. So when I do see these walkthroughs that don't have it, it really frustrates me because it just means that they haven't put in that effort. And don't get me wrong, recording a game is tough. Editing it together so that it flows nicely is time consuming, and it does take a level of expertise to do it, although it can be learned, and it can be learned very quickly. But the commentary is a completely different ball game. Like, talking to yourself for a long period of time is tantamount to madness. But you can make it work, and you can make people, you know, invested and interested in what you're saying. And I hope that's what the people that come to my channel can find, even though I'll still get the, oh, this guy's in love with the sound of his own voice. Have you heard my fucking voice? I made over 100 videos this week. My voice is killing me. All I want to do is shut up. I could be a mute for the rest of the day and it wouldn't bother me. Like, when I press stop after this, I might not talk to anybody for the rest of the day because my throat needs a rest. But when I press record, we're talking. That's what we do. And I'm going to be edging out trying to shoot these guys because this bit is incredibly dangerous. And that guy has a grenade launcher, so make sure you kill him because he's just a douche. But so a lot of people making brutal guides for certain things, but none of them had commentary. And then I found one which was just ripped directly from someone's stream. It was this game on Brutal. It was a girl playing, which I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome, a girl playing Brutal. Nice to see, you know, the other sex kicking ass. And then the first thing she did was go into the menus, enable, like, fucking, oh, what was it? Is it Golden Guns? Oh, this might have been somebody else. But suffice to say, she cheated, or he cheated, or whoever I saw that did this. It might have been a separate person. I watched a few. Like, that was the first thing I saw. They went into the menu, they enabled is it a tweak, I think they're called? And it refilled their ammo. And it's just that moment of like, seriously, you're gonna fucking put this up? Are you doing that? What have you done there? You've achieved nothing. Congratulations, you fucking won the game. Why not just not buy it, and then you win anyway? Like, I was so mad because as soon as I saw those videos, I immediately respected these people. I respected them because they had the balls to do something that's not easy, that a lot of people aren't even going to try. And then when you click on it, and you get let down like that, it was just, oh, it was heartbreaking. And then I'm like, I hope this gets no fucking views. You know, I truly do. I hope you get scurvy and lose a limb. Like, I got all malicious and bitter, but there were a few other people doing them, and they seemed spot on, but just no commentary. And there are times when I think you have to mention certain parts. Like this moment right now, this is a really good spot because I'm not in trouble. The only threat is the grenades. And the good news is, nobody can shoot me quick enough and punish me. This guy can't shoot me quick enough because the snipers on this game are idiots. It doesn't make any sense. I've never played a hardest difficulty like it, and I'm really, really glad that it's refreshingly stupid. Because if they were half as evil as your standard foe, I would be dead. But they're not. And my conscious moment right now is my bullets are going down, and there is a lot of snipers here. So I'm a little worried that I should be getting headshots here, and I'm trying to, you know, conserve my shots. I'm not trying super hard. But I'm not spraying. I'm feathering the trigger. And I know when this sequence comes to a close, there's going to be another spawn of dudes, which you can use your grenades to deal with. But it means moving out of position because the last person to kill before it triggers the next wave is the sniper that's above me. And of course, I can't see him. So I have to reposition and then take him out. The good news is, as I mentioned, the snipers are idiots. So it's not going to be difficult to get rid of this guy. However, he has a face made of Kevlar. And my iron sights are drunk because that's the only thing I can say as to why he survived for as long as he did. But you see that? That was beautiful. His weapon bounced away. Now I have a sniper rifle. Ho ho ho. And there's a grenade launcher, which is really depressing because now I don't know what weapon to take. But I'm going to go with the grenade launcher just because it has the multi-kill potential. And I know the exact firefight that's going to follow this because I tried to spawn kill a bunch of dudes rappelling with grenades and it doesn't kill them. I was so mad. But this is a nice little... Oh, there's another sniper rifle. You're breaking my heart, game. Stop doing this. Stop being so damn kind. Where were you when we needed this stuff? Oh, it's so bad. The only thing I would really like right now would be a Desert Eagle. And I think I find one. Because I think this level has one. And I think that might be why I've left in me running around picking stuff up. I could be wrong, guys. I know there's a Desert Eagle coming. Yeah, I think I'm wrong. We're just going to open the door and get on with it. So this next encounter, there's going to be a guy on the stairs with a Desert Eagle, which is really good news, because he is essentially my best friend. He's another one of those people who, for whatever balance reasons they justify it, he can't shoot you quickly. He has to line his gun up, he has to get the laser just on you, and then he shoots. And if you move, he has to do it all over again. Like, it's like watching those people who make pyramids out of cards on unstable ground. Like, they do it on a table in a club that's bouncing with people dancing and things and music and speakers and shit. So you're just not going to stand a chance. But there's going to be a little bit of platforming before that happens. And we're coming up on the last 10 minutes of the video. I know I said that this was an hour long. It was an hour long before I found a part where I didn't edit out a death. So, as much as I'd love to say yes, it is propaganda to hype you up, it was just an error on my part. And the video originally was an hour long. But it's still such a long mission. It really is. It's a test of endurance, this one. There was a guy on one of the early videos that I put up who was mentioning that he'd just beaten Brutal, and he thought that Chapter 22 onwards was a big increase in difficulty because the enemies were one-shotting him a lot. And I have no idea how he got that impression, because outside of shotguns and like snipers and the crossbows from the blue dudes, there's nothing on this game that can one-shot you unless you get hit twice at the same time, and that is really unlucky, but it does happen. So I don't know how he got that frame of mind, but it was nice to see somebody who'd already beaten it, because I'd literally just beat it when he commented. So I got to ask him what he thought was the toughest part, and he thought this was definitely an area where the difficulty jumps, and I explained that I think the dig, if you can do the dig, you're good. The rest of this is just patience and perseverance. And if you've played a tough game before, like, you know, if you've done Gears of War 3 on Insane on your own, I think you should be fine. Because there are moments in that game that took me way longer than this game. It's just it's been such a long time since that game was out, we've all gone soft. Oh, by the way, the staircase here, you cannot seem to get shot through the gaps, and you can shoot through them. I don't know why the AI has such trouble shooting through objects like this, but they just do. It's wonderful. If you could take these stairs with you, like detach them and carry them around, you would have God mode, because they just cannot seem to figure it out. It's like some bizarre wooden Rubik's Cube of, you know, elevation. They just can't do it. And then there's, of course, a crazy shield guy there. I'm going to shoot him in the hand, because he's a tosser. Do you know what I would love to see in future of games? This guy has a bandolier of shotgun shells on his waist. It'd be great if you could shoot that and it blew him up. Or it, like, split him in two or something. I love that kind of stuff. Say what you want about Sniper Elite games, and I've said a lot about them in the past because they're done by Rebellion, and Rebellion are a studio who are mid-tier at best. They make unbelievably average games. Every so often, they get a good idea and they come through with it, but it's still nothing special. On Sniper Elite, you can shoot the grenades on people's belts and it blows them up. If that is not an amazing idea that all games should have, I don't know what is. Instead, they'll give the enemies some kind of arbitrary outfit where they've got an oxygen tank on the back and you've got to shoot that instead. Like, so many dumb reasons to have enemies blow up, when Sniper Elite did it in the simplest, most obvious way, and it was really cool. But I still think those games are painfully average. But I think we might be done. Oh no, there's a guy just there, I think, on cover. Do you see that? Or am I going insane? I'm going insane. That's cool. I've probably been insane for a very long time. But that was a Desert Eagle. That is my baby. And then there is a pretty interesting section coming up on the next level, which is called Reunion, where you have to do a really big gunfight. The good news is, it's not that hard. I ended up doing it my first time, and the problem when you do something your first attempt is there is a lot of unconfident moments that if you'd had to record it again, you could have made it look a lot cleaner. But I've had one philosophy with a lot of my walkthroughs for a very long time, and that is, I get the successful run and I commit to it. Because if I didn't, it'd take me years to make guides, because I would constantly be redoing them to get like the optimum route. And as much as that can be really fun to do, I think it's inherently dishonest when I'm trying to help you get through the game. But that was the longest level in Uncharted 2, so thank you for watching. I hope it helped you get through the slog, and as always, you take care now.